And good morning. We are live on all the streams at the same time, so we'll just get going. Welcome back. We're on chapter 4 at Flourish and Blotts in book 2, The Chamber of Secrets. I imagine we're about halfway through. I did cut it yesterday a bit early at about 33 minutes because some of the material was a little confrontational for me. But let us resume. Flourish and Blotts. Go away, Percy snapped. Of course, he's very ambitious, Percy. He's got it all planned out. He wants to be Minister of Magic. Ron told Harry and Hermione in an undertone as they left Percy to it. An hour later, they headed for Flourish and Blotts. They were by no means the only ones making their way to the bookshop. As they approached it, they saw to their surprise a large crowd jostling outside the doors, trying to get in. The reason for this was proclaimed by a large banner stretched across the upper windows. Gilderoy Lockhart will be signing copies of his autobiography, Magical Me, today, 12:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. We can actually meet him, Hermione squealed. I mean, he's written almost the whole book list. The crowd seemed to be made up of mostly witches, around Mrs. Weasley's age. A harassed-looking wizard stood at the door saying, "Calmly, please, ladies, don't push there. Mind the books now." If you've ever seen Empire Records, it's Rex Manning Day. Harry, Ron, and Hermione squeezed inside. A long line wound right to the back of the shop, where Gilderoy Lockhart was signing his books. They each grabbed a copy of the Standard Book of Spells, Grade 2, and sneaked up the line to where the rest of the Weasleys were standing with Mr. and Mrs. Granger. "Oh, there you are. Good," said Mrs. Weasley. She sounded breathless and kept patting her hair. "We'll be able to see him in a minute." Gilderoy Lockhart came slowly into view, seated at a table surrounded by large pictures of his own face, all winking and flashing dazzling white teeth at the crowd. The real Lockhart was wearing robes of forget-me-not blue that exactly matched his eyes. His pointed wizard's hat was set at a jaunty angle on his wavy hair. Why, the very picture of a wizard. What do you think it means when somebody tries that hard to look like a thing? A short, irritable-looking man was dancing around taking photographs with a large black camera that emitted puffs of purple smoke with every blinding flash. "Out of the way there," he snarled at Ron, moving back to get a better shot. "This is for the Daily Prophet." "Big deal," said Ron, rubbing his foot where the photographer had stepped on it. Lockroy Gilderhurt. Wow, that was odd. Gilderoy Lockhart heard him. He looked up. He saw Ron. Actually, I like that. Lockroy Gilderhurt. It's kind of nice. Anyways, he looked up. He saw Ron, and then he saw Harry. He stared. Then he leapt to his feet and positively shouted, "It can't be Harry Potter." The crowd parted, whispering excitedly. Lockhart dived forward, seized Harry's arm, and pulled him to the front. Do we notice the lack of consent? The crowd burst into applause. Harry's face burned. Embarrassment, as Lockhart shook his hand for the photographer who was clicking madly away, wafting thick smoke over the Weasleys. "Nice big smile, Harry," said Lockhart through his own gleaming teeth. "Together, you and I are worth the front page." What is this worth for Harry? What does he get out of it? What did he want? When he finally let go of Harry's hand, Harry could hardly feel his fingers. He tried to sidle back over to the Weasleys, but Lockhart threw an arm around his shoulders and clamped him tightly to his side. Let's think about the environment Harry just came out of, where the frickin' Dursleys kept him confined. And now he's publicly confined by this guy who is seen as a hero. His anxieties must be going off the charts right now. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said loudly, waving for quiet, "what an extraordinary moment this is. The perfect moment for me to make a little announcement I've been sitting on for some time. When young Harry here stepped into Flourish and Blotts today, He only wanted to buy my autograph, which I shall be happy to present him now, free of charge. The crowd applauded again. He had no idea, Lockhart continued, giving Harry a little shake that made his glasses slip to the end of his nose, that he would shortly be getting much, much more than my book, Magical Me. He and his schoolmates will, in fact, be getting the real Magical Me. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have great pleasure and pride in announcing that this September I will be taking up the post of defense against the dark arts teacher at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. All right, so he's over here trying to shake Harry's glasses off his face, not paying any attention to Harry. Obviously, this scene has nothing about Harry. This is just a publicity draw for Gilderoy Lockhart. And if we had any concern about the school or the students, we probably could have approached the way that we went public with a little bit more sensitivity and respect to those with whom he will be working. The crowd cheered and clapped, and Harry found himself being presented with the entire works of Gilderoy Lockhart. Staggering slightly under their weight, he managed to make his way out of the limelight to the edge of the room. Managed. Where Jenny was standing next to her new cauldron. You have these, Harry mumbled to her, tipping the books into the cauldron. I'll buy my own. Bet you loved that, didn't you, Potter? Said a voice Harry had no trouble recognizing. He straightened up and found himself face to face with Draco Malfoy, who was wearing his usual sneer. Famous Harry Potter, said Malfoy. Can't even go into a bookshop without making the front page. All right, so Malfoy is upset about the attention that Harry gets. Leave him alone. He didn't want all that, said Jenny. It was the first time she had spoken in front of Harry. She was glaring at Malfoy. Okay, pay attention to that. They've been living in the same house, and this is the very first time she's spoken in front of Harry, and it's in his defense. This is not a small thing. Potter, you've got yourself a girlfriend, drawled Malfoy. Jenny went scarlet. Of course she did, because she's got a crush on her. As Ron and Hermione fought their way over, both clutching stacks of Lockhart's books. Oh, it's you, said Ron, looking at Malfoy as if he were something unpleasant on the sole of his shoe. Bet you're surprised to see Harry here, eh? Not as surprised as I am to see you in a shop, Weasley, retorted Malfoy. I suppose your parents will go hungry for a month to pay for all of those. Hi, Fred. Ron went red as Jenny. He dropped his books into the cauldron too and started towards Malfoy, but Harry and Hermione grabbed the back of his pocket. Ron, said Mr. Weasley, struggling over with Fred and George. What are you doing? It's too crowded in here. Let's go outside. Well, well, well. Arthur Weasley. It was Mr. Malfoy. He stood with his hand on Draco's shoulder, sneering in just the same way. Lucius, said Mr. Weasley, nodding coldly. Busy time at the ministry, I hear, said Mr. Malfoy. All those raids. I hope they're paying you overtime. Excuse me. He reached into Jenny's cauldron and extracted from amid the glossy Lockhart books a very old, battered copy of A Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration. Obviously not, Mr. Malfoy said. Dear me, what's the use of being a disgrace to the name of wizard if they don't even pay you well for it? Mr. Weasley flushed darker than either Ron or Jenny. We have a very different idea of what disgraces the name of wizard, Malfoy. Clearly, said Mr. Malfoy, his pale eyes straying to Mr. and Mrs. Granger, who were watching apprehensively. The company you keep, Weasley, and I thought your family could sink no lower. All right. So, if we zoom out here for a minute, if I recall correctly, not only did we meet Hagrid in Chapter 4 of Book 1, but we also had our first encounter with Draco in Chapter 4 of Book 1. Structurally, so far, we're still where we're unfolding just like Book 1 did. Now, having found a family with the Weasleys. And in these 4 short chapters, Harry has already been shown that the Weasleys cannot protect him from exposure to things that he is unprepared for because of the flume powder and incident. And now he's finding out that Arthur Weasley, who is a inherently good man, and the head of the Weasley family, can't quite protect them from the Malfoys, which is a very cold family. So now we've got another conflict shaping up, but now it's pitting the found family that we have in book 2 against the Malfoys. There was a thud of metal as Jenny's cauldron went flying. Mr. Weasley had thrown himself at Mr. Malfoy, knocking him backward into a bookshelf. Dozens of heavy spellbooks came thundering down on all their heads. There was a yell of, "Get him, Dad!" from Fred or George. Mrs. Weasley was shrieking, "No, Arthur, no!" The crowd stampeded backward, knocking more shelves over. "Gentlemen, please, please," cried the assistant, and then louder, then all, "Break it up there, gents, break it up." Hagrid was wading toward them through the sea of books. In an instant, he had pulled Mr. Weasley and Mr. Malfoy apart. Mr. Weasley had a cut lip, and Mr. Malfoy had been hit in the eye by an encyclopedia of toadstools. He was still holding Jenny's old Transfiguration book. He thrust it at her, his eyes glinting with malice. "Here, girl, take your book. It's the best your father can give you." Pulling himself out of Hagrid's grip, he beckoned to Draco and swept from the shop. "You should have ignored him, Arthur," said Hagrid, almost lifting Mr. Weasley off his feet as he straightened his robes. "Rotten to the core, the whole family. Everybody knows that. No Malfoy's worth listening to. Bad blood. That's what it is. Come on now. Let's get out of here." The assistant looked as though he wanted to stop them leaving, but he could barely come up to Hagrid's waist and seemed to think better of it. They hurried up the street, the Grangers shaking with fright, and Mrs. Weasley beside herself with fury. "A fine example to set for your children, brawling in public. What Gilderoy Lockhart must have thought." "He was pleased," said Fred. "Didn't you hear him as we were leaving? He was asking that bloke from the Daily Prophet if he'd be able to work the fight into his report. Said it was all publicity." Well, that makes sense. But it was a subdued group that headed back to the fireplace in the leaky cauldron, where Harry and the Weasleys and all their shopping would be traveling back to the Burrow using flu powder again. They said goodbye to the Grangers, who were leaving the pub for the Muggle Street on the other side. Mr. Weasley started to ask how bus stops worked, but stopped quickly at the look on Mr. Weasley's face. Harry took off his glasses and put them safely in his pocket before helping himself to flu powder. It definitely was not his favorite way to travel. All right, so looks like we're going to have a short one today because that's the end of Chapter 4. Hope you join me today, tomorrow or the next day for Chapter 5. See you all later out there. Thanks for watching, Fred. Bye, guys.